Welcome to the Insomnia Project. Sit back, relax, lay back, grab yourself a beanbag chair if you have, and just listen as we have a conversation about the ordinary. One thing that we strive for is that our conversation will be less than fascinating so that you can just drift off. Thank you for joining us. We hope you will listen and sleep. We hope you will follow us on Twitter at Listen and Sleep. I'm your host, Marco Timpano, and joining me on tonight's podcast is a dear friend of mine. You've heard us mention her before on previous podcasts. Welcome, Dale Boyer, to the Insomnia Project.
Hello.
Dale, we have mentioned not only yourself, but your family on previous podcasts.
Oh, I'm honored.
You are my car expert. I've known you for I don't know how long, easily over a decade and a half.
I believe I have a special title.
Okay.
As your car consigliere.
That's right.
I believe.
You are my car consigliere. I always, if there's ever an issue with my car, you're the first person I call.
Again, very honored.
Well, and it comes with good reason. Your dad is a mechanic.
He is.
And tell me, when is the earliest recollection you've had learning about cars?
I come from a family of car people.
Okay.
My dad is a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle was a body man.
Oh.
So together they could fix any aspect of the car. But they were into motorcycles. My dad owned many different cars. And there was always a sense of pride when it came to the automobiles that my family had. So even as a little kid, I knew I wasn't allowed to touch the car or put a bag on the car.
Okay.
Or sit on the car, as some people may do with their children. So probably that. Learning the rules of how not to ruin the paint job of a car
was the first recollection you have.
Or not to slam the door of the car.
And then when was the first sort of tactical piece of advice or something that you knew about a car that your dad had instilled on you? And what was that piece of advice?
My dad would tell me things all the time about the car. Even when I was a kid, and I know that this is not something you're supposed to do, but my dad would put me on his lap and let me drive in the parking lot. Or
back then it wasn't as bad.
This is true.
I remember a time when seatbelts were optional. So.
Exactly. I had, actually, my mother was telling me the other day, I had one of the first car seats.
Really?
Yeah, baby car seats.
Oh, there you go.
And there's a picture of me in this plastic Tupperware, basically, with a seatbelt.
Oh, we've got to get this picture so we can tweet it.
I would love to find it for you.
We need to send a special hello to Lynn Boyer.
Yes.
Because she's one of my favorite people. But anyways, and safety first. So that was very great.
Yes, she was taking care of her daughter by putting her in this newfangled plastic bucket,
right?
Essentially. But yeah, my dad has always told me about cars, and there's always a lot of conversations about cars.
Sure.
My father has a rule now.
Oh, I like this. I'm actually going to write this rule.
Well, it's not that type of rule.
If you tell me your dad has a cardinal rule. Dale is one of those people that, you have those friends that if they tell you something, you don't question and you do it. So, and I often I'll tell Dale, I'll call her up, I'm like, Dale, here's something you need to get. It's changed my life. And sure enough, she'll be like, ordered it, got it. You're one of those people, and I only have a handful, maybe less than a handful, of friends who, when they tell you something, you know that what they're saying is sound.
I'm nervous now.
No.
It's not that type of rule.
Fair enough.
It's a personal rule.
Fair enough.
That when my dad fixes my car, I have to sit with him.
Okay.
And talk.
But what a great way to learn.
Yes.
If you've had to do that all your life.
And I have.
You've surely picked up things by osmosis. It's like my mother's a hairdresser. And so growing up, she had a salon. I was always around it. but you don't realize what you innately or inertly learn.
Yes.
And so back in the day, I don't know if you remember, French braids were really in style.
I do.
So she would do weddings and she would do like a ton of French braids. If you asked me to French braid your hair, I could. And I don't know what I'm doing. I just was around it my entire life.
In grade 8, for my graduation, I had a French braid with ribbons in it.
Well, I remember a time where you would French braid baby breaths. You know that flower that you often see with carnations?
Yes, it's like a sprinkle of flour.
Yeah, it's like a little tiny circle of sponge on a twig.
Yes.
I could French braid that into your hair.
Oh, I want you to.
Maybe I will.
For sure.
But let's hear this rule.
That's the rule.
Oh, that's the rule. That was the rule.
Unfortunately, it was just a rule that. But listen, if you ever want my dad to do something for your car,
And you've mentioned this before.
you need to sit with him.
Well,
I've learned so much about cars. I know a lot about cars, but I am not a mechanic.
I have learned much more about my car thanks to you, so I totally get that, Roger.
And sometimes I'll be in your car and I'll say, "What's that noise?"
What's that?
I feel like it's in the back this corner.
Yep. I'll call Dale and I'll be like, it's making this sound and it feels like this. And she will give me a diagnosis. And then what she often does is she'll call her dad. And the next day she'll say, "My dad said this. You should ask the mechanic this when you bring it in."
Sometimes you just need that technical term
Sure.
to show a mechanic that you kind of know what you're talking about or care enough to know what you're talking about.
Right.
And that sometimes will just be the difference between getting good work and being taken advantage of.
There you go. And you know what's interesting is that you are the person I know, my closest friend that knows the most about cars. And we mentioned this on the radio, on the podcast, I should say, a couple episodes ago, and how it's interesting. It's an interesting gender unbiased. That it's like, no, the person I know that knows the most about cars is my buddy Dale. And once again, your name is a gender neutral name.
Yes.
So people assume it's male if they don't know you.
Yes.
And they'll be like, "Can you ask him?" I'm like, "I'll ask her." And they'll be like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, she knows about cars. Get over it."
I will say, I had my probably proudest car moment last year.
I need to hear this.
I feel like I may have told you, but I'm going to embellish now and tell you the whole. I had a long day shooting something.
Dale's an actor. I should let our listeners know.
So I had been on set all day, and I had amazing hair and makeup. My head looked amazing.
Okay. Because you had it professionally done by a stylist and a hair person.
And it wasn't going to move in the wind. It was TV hair.
Right. So
face.
They mat your face down with makeup so it looks great on camera.
Yeah.
They get your hair in such a way that it looks great, and then they just spray it down so it doesn't move.
Yeah.
So that you can do take after take after take.
It has to stay consistent.
So you were looking camera beautiful.
Camera beautiful. Full day. Very tired. I left the shoot. I had driven there in my own car, and I got a flat tire.
Oh.
Because of beyond dumbness, a little bit on my own part. I will take some responsibility for it, but mostly due to construction that was not clearly labeled,
marked or indicated
that there was a problem. So I got a flat tire.
Ugh.
And I was in a very crowded place in Toronto that you can't, it was a mess.
Okay.
And so I had to pull into this transport truck depot.
Okay.
And all these construction men were like, "That's a flat, you're gonna be this, that, you're in trouble now." And just basically telling this beautiful woman that she was in trouble with this flat. My ego went crazy.
Good.
And I was like, "I'll show you. I'm going to change this tire on the side of this highway with this amazing hair and face.
In a transport depot. You're not in a trendy area of Toronto at this point.
No. I'm in like a warehousey place that you would cut through when you don't want to go on the highway.
Okay.
And I had recently had a baby.
Okay.
So I was like 6 months from having a baby.
Right.
And I thought, I will change this tire and show you that I will change it. And I did. And I did it.
And all these transport workers were watching you during this?
Yes, all the construction workers.
Okay.
And I'm sure, I don't know, I
Fair.
can only imagine that
Sure.
they were like, get a load of this.
Right.
And I was like, I'm putting the donut on. And I'm like, and it's difficult sometimes to get the nut off of the wheel.
I don't know if I could do it.
I had to kick it with my foot.
Okay.
But I got that donut on and I drove that car home.
And for our listeners that don't know what a donut is, it's the spare tire that you have usually in your trunk under the flap of carpet or whatnot.
That's true. And it's very easy to change a tire.
There you go.
Anybody can do it.
That's what I love about Dale. You often will say, you can do this. It's not that hard.
You can do it.
And you will tell me, like, I think I have to change the antifreeze in the radiator one time.
Oh, yeah.
And you were like, do this. This is all you got to do.
You can do it.
And you can do it. And because of that, I've been a much better, I don't know what you'd call it, but I've felt much more confident with my car and about my car. And I've saved money as a result of it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You know, another thing that you taught me, and if you do want a proper sort of point that I hold dear, write this one down. You were the one who told me that your tires are the only thing keeping you from the ground.
Yes.
Get good tires.
My father says it's the 6 inches that is between you and the road.
So take care of your tires.
They better be good tires.
Take care of your tires.
Take good care of them. Make sure they're properly inflated,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to inflate them too much.
What happens if you do that?
You wear out the tread on the middle of the tire.
Right.
And if it's low, you wear out the tread on the outside of the tire.
I see.
And you want that tread to go evenly. As well, when you take your snow tires off
Right.
and put your summer all-season tires on, you should mark those tires.
Oh, this I didn't know.
So that you know the front go on the back and the back go on the front. So you're basically rotating your tires with the seasons so they wear evenly.
How would you mark them? Would you just get a marker and mark front on your front tires?
Yeah, it's like a white
wax pen or
wax
something?
pen. You can just write, FL or whatever.
So what I would do is when I remove these all seasons that I currently have to put on my winter tires,
Yes.
I would mark them with a wax pen, and then the ones I mark front, next year when I re-put them on, I put them in the back.
Put them on the back.
Okay.
Interesting thing.
Sure.
I have a Civic.
Mm-hmm.
Honda Civic.
Mm-hmm.
And the Civic year and model that I have has a design flaw in the back axle of the car that means that I need to get alignments more often because it wears down my tires irregularly.
Oh, wow.
Because of this design flaw. And I didn't get my act together quickly enough to get part of the class action lawsuit.
Well, that's too bad.
It's too bad. I wanted part of it too, because I had to buy tires because my tires wore out unevenly. Because another interesting thing about tires is that they don't actually go flat on the ground. They're either tilted in a little bit, depending on the make and the model of the car.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so when you get an alignment done, this is what my father has always said,
Sure.
you want to get an alignment done to the make and model of your car.
So it would be best to bring your car into a dealership that would sell your car?
It's one of the only things that I ever heard my dad say, go to the dealership for.
Oh.
Now listen, lots of people have many opinions about cars.
Sure.
And I am not a mechanic.
Fair.
but I am a mechanic's daughter who has a good memory.
That's great. And I am not a hairdresser, but I am the son of a hairdresser who also has a good memory. So if you want to find out more about Camera Beautiful Dale, you can go to her Twitter,
Yes.
@Dale. Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing, or not confusing, controversial. @Dale Boyer, Boyer.
That's correct.
And the reason I say that is, once again, we mentioned, because you're a dear friend of mine, we mentioned people all the time. I mention Amanda at least once on every episode, but we mentioned your name. And Nidhi, who is from Montreal originally, asked me, is it Boyer or Boyer? Which is it?
It's both.
Okay.
It's both. I've embraced it as both. My Boyer is the French version of Boyer, and my family, my dad's side of the family, is French Canadian.
Right.
And they say Boyer. But in Ontario, when you're Anglo and you don't speak French or use it at all, it turns into Boyer.
Right.
So my family will often use Boyer.
I see.
However, I have a unisex first name.
Right.
So sometimes I use Boyer, and often when I'm doing something professionally, I'll use Boyer.
Right.
Because it just feels nicer with the unisex name,
Okay.
I personally feel. And if it can go either way, I've decided to embrace all aspects of the last name and not feel like every time I use one, I should be using the other. Forget it. I have
You're
two
cool.
last names.
There you go.
We live in a culture obsessed with dieting, weight loss, and exercise. And that can make eating disorder behaviors easy to miss. But the reality is, eating disorders are serious mental illnesses that take a major toll on your health and your life. But recovery is possible. Eating disorders are more common than you might think. Chances are you know someone who is struggling with one. Or maybe you're struggling yourself. If you're concerned about an eating disorder in yourself or a loved one, I want to introduce you to Equip. Equip is a fully virtual, evidence-based eating disorder treatment program that helps patients achieve lasting recovery at home. Every Equip patient is matched with a multidisciplinary care team that includes a therapist, dietitian, medical provider, and mentors. And you get a personalized treatment plan that's tailored to your unique goals and challenges. Equip treats patients of all ages and all eating disorder diagnoses. It's covered by insurance, and there's no wait list. If you think that you or a loved one could be struggling with an eating disorder, don't wait to get help. Visit equip.health to learn more. That's equip.health.
When it comes to managing money, forget the hype and look at the results. Bill has $1 trillion of secure payments powering our bill pay tools. Instead of just moving money, Bill is powering the financial operations of nearly 500,000 customers. So stop the guesswork and start scaling with the proven choice. Ready to talk with an expert? Visit Bill.com/proven to get started. And grab a $250 gift card as a thank you. Terms and conditions apply. See offer page for details.
We need to keep kids safe online, but some special interests are sending policymakers in the wrong direction, pushing the so-called App Store Accountability Act, demanding government ID from all users just to download an app, replacing parents' judgment with government mandates. It doesn't even stand up in court. A better bipartisan bill, the Parents Over Platforms Act, would put parents in the driver's seat, empowering parents and businesses to keep kids safe without drowning all of us in red tape. Tell Congress to get it done right and put parents over platforms.
Paid for by ACT, the App Association.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this. What was it like growing up with a gender-neutral name, or a name that could be both male or female?
I didn't like it
Okay.
when I was little.
Right.
I really wanted the name like Crystal or Samantha.
Right.
Now that I'm older, I very much like my name.
You're not a Crystal.
I'm not a Crystal. I'm a Dale.
Right.
Through and through.
Okay.
The one thing that I have happened to me pretty much my whole life has been I go to appointments or meetings with people who have never met me, and often I'll notice, for example, I'll go get a massage.
Sure.
And I'll be waiting in the waiting room, and it'll be 10 minutes past when I'm
Your
supposed
scheduled
to.
time.
And I'll see the massage therapist like looking around, and I'll say, "I'm Dale." and they'll go, oh, okay, like as if they weren't looking for a man, which they were. And then they'll come out and say, oh, sorry about the wait. And I'll be like, I know. You were looking for somebody else, and that's okay. I'm here, and away we go.
It's like my last name is Timpano. And what will often happen to me is, you're on the phone and they'll say, or you'll be you'll be at a doctor's office and they'll say, last name? And I always dread that, because inevitably when I say my last name, Timpano, they'll think I'm saying my first and my last name, so they'll look up Pano, or they'll write Pano and think my first name is Tim. Mm-hmm. So now I've gotten into the habit of, people will say last name, I'll say starts with the letter T, so that they already type that in.
Interesting.
And then I'll say Timpano, first name Marco, right away, so they realize it's not Tim Pano.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love the adjustments we use to give our names to people. Mm-hmm. I often get people saying back to me, Gail.
Okay.
Like Gail, which I'm obviously not. So I will often say Dale, like the chipmunk.
Of Chip and Dale.
Yeah. And it also kind of beats them to the punch.
Right.
I don't have to hear them say, oh, like Chip and Dale.
Or Marco Polo. Marco, like Marco Polo.
Yeah.
I get that often.
I love these like small adjustments.
Sure.
Whenever I make a order, I always use Boyer.
Okay.
Because it's just easier to spell.
What do you get on your Starbucks? You know how they'll write your name on a Starbucks coffee?
Yes, I always get my name. However,
okay.
And I believe you have had Melanie Tapson on your podcast. If I am with Melanie, I will always order Susan.
Okay.
And I try to beat her to say Susan before she can say Susan.
Just because it's a thing you guys have. You and Melanie are very good friends. I actually met Melanie through you.
Yeah.
So
it has been a very long-standing joke between us. So we usually try to use Susan.
I get Markle, like sparkle with an M. Did I ever tell you that?
I really like that.
I get Markle.
Markle.
Yeah.
Markle. We should Google Markle
and see
if there's Markles out there.
I think it's a great stage name.
Markle.
Markle.
I always thought Dale Boyer was a name no one would have.
Okay.
Like Dale seems like a southern name for a man.
Okay.
And Boyer is French. And now I've come to realize that there are dozens of us.
Have you Googled your name and seen who's out there?
Yes.
And who's out there? I'll tell you who has Marco Timpano.
My favorite one that comes up is a man who has just, if you do a Google search for images, it's a man who has just shot and killed a turkey.
Okay.
And he's holding the turkey's feathers up in display. I made that my profile picture for a while.
Amazing.
Because it's so far from who I am.
But you do like turkey.
I love turkey. I eat a lot of turkey.
What do you mean by a lot of turkey?
I eat turkey multiple times a week.
Okay.
Because I don't eat beef or pork.
So turkey is your go-to protein.
Yeah.
As are eggs. And one thing about Dale is, of everyone I know, not only does she have that car knowledge, she cooks a mean egg.
Any type of egg.
So then I have to ask you this, because this is driving me crazy, Dale. Mm-hmm. I cannot crack an egg. I crack eggs and I just make a mess. Either shells get in, and it's just a recent thing. It's almost like I have some sort of chronic egg problem.
You've lost the touch.
I've lost the touch. I crack it, egg goes in. I crack it on the side of a bowl.
Are you
egg
trying
drips.
to do it with one hand?
I try single hand, I try double hand, I even try using a spoon to crack it as opposed to cracking it on a surface. Okay. And I just make a mess.
Much like parallel parking, I think you're overthinking it.
Is that it?
Yeah. Because you know how sometimes you just lose your parallel parking for like 6 months? I know that for me. I'm like, I can't park for 6 months. And then it comes back, and then I'm amazing at parking again. But just for a strange amount of time, I just lose it.
Okay.
And I feel like that's what's happened with you and eggs.
But you asked me, do you do it with one hand or two?
I do it with two.
Okay.
I can't crack an egg with one hand, but that doesn't diminish the excellence that I cook an egg with.
What's your secret to a fried egg?
The pan has to be hot.
A hot pan?
Yeah, and a fresh egg too. I know, but a fresh egg isn't going to go so wide.
Okay.
The wider an egg goes in the pan, the older it is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't know if it's an old wives' tale.
Sure.
But that's what I've known.
I have asked some chefs I know, and they say oil in the pan. Make sure there's a lot. Like if you use butter or oil, I'm now using coconut oil. I make a little pool. I make sure that...
Too much oil.
So defer to too much oil in the pan.
There's a reason why we go to restaurants and things taste amazing. It's too much oil.
Okay.
Just cook with too much oil
and you'll be fine. What's your favorite way to have eggs?
I love poached eggs.
I love a poached egg.
It's so good.
Soft, medium, or hard?
I like them pretty soft, without the white.
This is why, Dale, you and I are friends.
I know.
Because I love a soft poached egg.
And it's not an easy thing to do.
No, and if you're having brunch with friends and they order medium or hard, chances are yours are going to come out medium and hard.
That's true.
So I always watch to see what other people order, or I specifically ask.
Good.
And I say, I need them soft.
That's good thinking. The trick I use at home to make the perfect poached egg is when I crack the egg into the water, I push the toast down on the toaster.
Oh, I see.
And when the toast pops up, my poached egg is done.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. Do you know that, I don't know if you do this, but when you poach an egg, before you crack the egg into the hot water, stir the water, crack the egg, what it'll do is it'll allow the egg to sort of turn on itself, so it stays intact.
And a little bit of vinegar in the water.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love a poached egg.
I love a poached egg with hollandaise sauce. A Benny is one of my favorite things.
It gives me a stomach ache.
Yeah. Oh, does it?
I need it on the side.
I see.
It's too rich.
It's too rich?
Yeah. I have a delicate disposition.
Hey, listen. As long as you know what you like, that's the most important thing with everything, especially with food. Because I would really like to explore this in a podcast on going to restaurants. People are sometimes intimidated with regards to wine or how to order. As long as you know what you like, that's half the battle.
Yeah. And just order. I know when I go out with my husband to a restaurant, if I look at the menu and I see the thing that I don't want the most, that's what my husband's going to order.
Oh, there you go.
Every time.
Well, we're going to send a shout out to Trevor, your husband. One to your father, Roger.
Yes.
To your mother, Lynn.
Great.
And to your little baby who's adorable, Edie. And this will probably be the first time her name is mentioned on a podcast.
I think it is.
But it won't be the last, I'll tell you that much. To find out more about Dale, go to @DaleBoyer. She will be a returning guest, I can promise you, on the Insomnia Project. Thank you, Dale.
My pleasure.
As always, the Insomnia Project is produced by Drumcast Productions, and we're recording this episode from Toronto.